door is open, so come on in. Sound check done, let's begin. Breaking news, the guess is you. Streaming live for you to view. Open House the podcast. Open House the podcast. Oh.
I just realized that all the buttons on my board aren't lit up anymore. There they go.
Oh.
Yay! There we go.
That's pretty.
Yeah, and we have there we go. Yep, that's good. Not too much excitement happening. We have a guest. Actually, it's funny because I don't know if you know this, but do you know that you were supposed to be the first guest we ever had on the show?
I didn't know that.
Did you know that?
No.
Yes, it was Jason Courtney actually scheduled the whole thing. He was the first guest that we had, and he was supposed to bring you in. And I'm not sure what happened, but you were the first. You were supposed to be the first guest ever on the show.
Oh, shit. I missed out.
You did. You missed out.
My ego would have loved that.
Yeah, that's okay because now you're like some lame number. Like, what are we on? You're like the 617. I don't know. Some, it is what it is. But I'm just kidding.
It's probably my favorite number, whatever it is. It's my favorite
What is your
number.
favorite number?
I mean, usually 13.
Is 13 your favorite number?
13. We
Is
had
this-
a conversation once about 13, and people say it's like a spooky number.
It's unlucky. Yeah. Do you
Well,
think that's lucky?
I always liked it because when we were playing sports, nobody wanted to touch the number.
Yeah.
So I was like, F that. I'll take that number. Let's go.
I love that for
So-
you. Yeah, honestly, if nobody else wants it, and that means you get it every year, so everybody knew number 13 was Doug.
Yep. Never had to worry about it. My number was always available.
Well,
And I'm
Yeah,
always
yeah.
late. So if I came in late, the number was still sitting there waiting for me. So I'm like, all right, we're good.
What kind of sports did you play as a kid?
A lot of basketball. As a young kid, I played
Yeah.
a lot of baseball, and then started getting actually scouted in junior high, and then I hated baseball at that point because it was boring because I played it for so long, and then switched to basketball, which was not a fan favorite of my father.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
How
Really?
yeah. Well, yeah, because he's like, you had an opportunity here, and then you went and changed in midstream, and now you're not going to get anywhere. Which he was right. I didn't make the high school team for basketball.
No. So when he said you're not going to get anywhere, he didn't mean like it,
Anywhere
like
in
because
life.
yeah.
No, like professional athletes
Right.
in sports. I did.
I gotcha.
Afterwards, just to prove him wrong, I did get offered a walk-on spot at Northwestern. I just didn't take it because I was,
Well, look at you.
I was
You
in
proved
love.
him wrong.
Yeah.
That helps
Wait,
your ego.
Did you prove him wrong though? If you never took the walk-on spot though, or
Well, I mean,
How does
I had
that
the
work?
Offer, so the offer
Yeah.
was worth. That's all I needed.
yeah,
That's all I needed to be whole.
yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the offer that verifies everything. You're like, I did it, and I could have been
Yeah.
champion.
Yeah,
If
I
I
could have.
if I wanted, I took a different route.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
have been JJ Redick before JJ.
Heck yeah,
Redick.
I believe it. I do.
Thanks, Summer.
I understand all of these sports references. I'm a huge soccer fan. I know exactly what we're talking about. Can
Way
you
off.
can
I'm
you?
shaking my head. No, I'm realizing we're on a podcast.
Yeah.
I need to actually say the word.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's funny because you'd think that, but the amount of people that watch podcasts now versus listen to them has drastically changed.
Yeah, there's
So,
a lot of watchers.
Yeah, you do know that there is the
People like to
yeah.
watch like us.
They So tell us a little bit. So we're gonna get. I got a lot of stuff here, and I've got a bunch of stuff for a game for us to play a little bit later on as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun.
But before we get that, just to kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey, and what's brought you to the unprofessional, not to be a professional basketball player. Is that what we were talking about?
Yeah, I want to be
Yeah.
a basketball player.
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah.
for sure.
So how did that dream?
How did
die
that dream
into-
die? Yeah, let's talk there. Well, how did your dad's dream die? What did he think when you got into real estate?
Well, baseball is where he wanted me to be.
Oh, I gotcha.
So
Yeah.
Then we neighborhood friend, early relationship. Her whole family was in drafting, so then we did like drafting and engineering, and I was in General Motors at Corvette Design and Engineering,
Oh, fun.
and that was not fun because it was like interior, so it was like all the boring stuff, like clips and this and that. So it could have been a wagon for all we really know, but.
Right.
So I had already bought a couple houses, moved a few times. My aunt was the trailblazer. My aunt was the first, we're very proud of my Aunt Thelma. So she was the very first president of a Chamber of Commerce, the very first female, very first female president of a board of realtors, the very first female to do $1 million gross commissions in a year in the nation. So she did a lot of like trailblazing stuff for
Wow.
women in real estate.
Yeah.
So she was always in real estate, and of course she was always successful in real estate. So I was like, oh, this is always interesting, right? I like that.
Yeah.
So moved a few houses, didn't like my job at General Motors, jumped into real estate, and off we went. But yes, my dad was a lifelong Chrysler guy, 46 years. So when I made a move into real estate, my mom and my dad both thought I was crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what
You hear that a lot.
So
What
was it
in
your
the hell are you
mom,
thinking?
your mom's mom, or your dad's mom?
It was my mom's sister.
Your mom's sister.
That was the real estate star.
But
And
she's so proud of you.
she loved it, right? She loved it, and it was super simple. That was probably the best words ever getting started in real estate. Is my aunt telling me, "Listen, you just take care of your clients, they'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not complicated. You know, act in their best interest, take care of them like their family, and they will take care of you forever." And that's literally the secret to my, you know, if we're gonna say success, right?
Yeah,
My
yeah.
clients
Your
take care of me.
success, yeah.
So it's yeah. I mean, it was the best words ever. So that's how we got going in it. But do you want the whole resume? Is that where we're going? So,
Well, sure. Let's start with
Well, my name's Doug Seeley.
Where were you born?
I was born in Grosse Pointe.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Which hospital?
At Bon Secours.
What time?
10.
Do you know this?
2 a.m.
Wow,
I
that's
just had to look at it because I just had myself a little passport.
yeah. I wanted to talk about this because I saw the post. We actually talked. This is why you weren't on a couple weeks ago. Because you had to do the
Yeah.
passport thing. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. But before we get there, that's actually on your passport, the time of your
No,
birth?
but I had to I was looking at my birth certificate to see if I was going to send things.
Oh.
And then just my natural curiosity of not liking to wake up early, which is another great reason why I didn't want to stay at General Motors.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I had to get up too early. So I was just like, I was curious, like, what's my natural, arrival time? And I was like, mid-morning, perfect. That explains a lot.
That is so funny.
Do you know when you were born?
I do. It was May 2nd. My birthday's coming up.
Well, I mean, I know that.
I'm,
Well, happy
I'm,
birthday.
You
I'm
know the
not
time?
done.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not done. 7:16 a.m.
Wow, am I the weird one here that doesn't do most people? Do you guys all know? Do most people know when they were born?
I think if you run a poll, most people are not.
They don't know. They don't know the time.
I wouldn't have known until
You looked
2
it
weeks
up.
ago.
I
Yeah.
know because my birthday, and like the time that I was born, it's all like 7. So like 5/2, 7, 7/16, 6/1, 7. So my mom always told me that, so that's how I remembered.
Oh,
She was like, "Your lucky number is 7,
yeah.
and you were born at 7/16." I used to think she was lying, because that's crazy.
Moms? Yeah, okay.
Moms lie.
Do they?
I mean, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's kind of what you said.
That's what I'm getting from this.
Literally, you just said, my mom's a liar.
Well, I did not say that, Mom. If you're
Sorry,
watching, I'm sorry. So, Doug,
I'm never not a liar.
10:32 a.m. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, I like that.
All
Yeah.
right, so from there, lived in Shelby my whole life for the most part.
Yeah.
2 years in Ohio, back to Shelby, graduated from Eisenhower, didn't make the baseball or basketball team at Eisenhower as we already
Yeah.
discussed. Went to General Motors, then went to Remax and was there for 21 years.
Wow.
Was a director of development for Remax for Michigan for a little while, which was a really cool job because it was
Yeah.
between Detroit and Colorado, and Dave Liniger was the Dave and Gail were like the creators of Remax, so I got to shoot guns in his basement, and
Wow.
he got this
Wait,
amazing
what?
house. Oh yeah, he's got a full gun range in his basement.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, shotguns in his basement by
Yeah.
design.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I
I
gotcha.
mean, amazing stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I won't talk about some of the things that he has next. We don't make him a target, but he has some amazing pieces over there. So we were
All
there
in his
for a lot.
basement.
Yeah, in his basement.
Yeah.
So, and again, I love the guy. I think he has more bars in his house than he does bedrooms.
Yeah.
Like outdoor bar, the garage bar.
It goes with the gun range.
Yeah, the inside.
Smart.
Inside garage, the basement garage has a bar. The out like everything has a bar. So
IV drip, just pure vodka.
eventually he was like, "Doug, you gotta go." I was like, all right.
Okay.
So let me ask you this because this is interesting. So I started in real estate at Real Estate One, and then Keller Williams kind of came into the picture. Now Real Estate One in this area was a steeple, just like Remax, just like Century 21, like a tried and true brokerage.
Agreed.
Keller Williams comes along and really kind of disrupts. Everybody's like, this is an MLM, and of course KW will get into EXP, and the EXP breaks off Epic. So when you were working Remax and you were in agent development, is that what you said you were doing there?
Yeah, I was just a regular agent for the majority, but for about 3 years I was in the director position. So it's selling franchises essentially.
Okay,
opening up
interesting.
offices, helping offices get going.
Yeah.
Selling the franchises, new locations. things like that.
What was Remax saying when like the KW first started popping up around here?
It's funny you should ask.
Yeah.
So they weren't worried about them.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to be a non-starter, not going to be a big deal. Then they came in like like a wrecking ball, as Miley Cyrus would say.
Yeah.
And then they just had this arrogance that they were just going to maintain it. Like, we're not worried about it. So as they started losing licenses, they started losing the agent count. Then they're like, well, we don't care about agent count. We just care about average transactions per agent.
Yeah.
And that's because that was what they were good at, right? And that's probably still. I haven't looked at last year's numbers, but typically nobody is close. Like, their average transactions per agent for Remax, I think, is still like 17 transactions per agent, where everybody else is 10, 12, 9. So they really are dominant in that factor, but they're overall, like, they're just losing interest, right? Their average agent, I think, is I'm guessing at this point in time, in I think mid-50s.
Yeah.
So their model's kind of stoic. It's all like all legacy or all traditional brokerages where we talk all day long as agents. We tell all of our clients it's better to own than it is to rent. And then all of us agents, until these revenue share models, we all rented. I rented an office from Remax. I paid $1,800 a month, blah, 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 blah. Like, and then I'm telling my clients, hey, you should own. And then in my own business, I rent. And most agents are like that, right? So that's the beauty with EXP, with Epic, with some of these other companies, that you are going to have ownership. So we're practicing what we're preaching at that point in time.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So
That's my opinion.
No, yeah. so they come along, you guys, and you're working for them when KW first came in, and they're thinking it's not a big deal. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
Yep, and they just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming until they eclipsed us on agent count, and then they're like, well, let's focus on what our positive is, which is which is per. And then the same exact thing. Then EXP starts coming in. So I saw EXP in like 2014.
Yeah.
I would have been like the 12th agent in the state of Michigan. I would have been in the first 900 agents across the country, and I was like, no, hold on to this balloon, baby.
Is that what you did? You held on?
Yeah,
all right, yeah.
I'm not leaving. I got the balloon. The balloon's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Dave Lineker hated the balloon. I heard this little private story once upon a time, and he was like, he got stuck with the balloon was on a newscaster in New Mexico. They do like a hot air balloon thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, I guess it just got froze on a screen for forever. Like that balloon stayed the first balloon. So there was an agent there that was like, called them and said, hey, would you be opposed if we were to do the hot air balloon festival or whatever, and we did a Remax colors, Remax balloons? They're like, no, we wouldn't be opposed. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So I think it was him and Vinny Tracy sitting in an airport, if I remember the story correctly, and they're looking at the screen. They're like, oh shit! Like, they're like, look at that, there it is. And then it was like it just remained the balloon in front for like the entire coverage. so then he's like, if I remember correctly, he was just like, God damn it, we're gonna end up being the balloon company.
Yeah.
And
and that's what ended up happening.
That's exactly who they are.
Which I think is freaking hilarious.
And they
That's
hated,
so funny.
but they kept it on everything. So
Yeah.
you're saying they hated it after
Well,
all?
I don't know if everybody did. But
Yeah.
Dave made the comment that he didn't like he hated that balloon.
That's
So
so funny.
I think
That
it's
is funny,
hilarious.
but yeah, like everybody looked
Why?
at it and they thought of Remax.
That's
so
the
they were
first thing you
"Let's
think of."
just roll with
Yeah.
it, even if you hate it.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, he's smart, right?
Yeah,
like listen, I'm
absolutely.
not gonna paddle upstream.
Yeah,
Like, if
why
Yeah.
would you
likes it,
fight
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
something that's already working?
rise above,
Apparently,
rise
yeah.
above, they would say, right?
That's
so,
funny.
so yeah, it was pretty crazy. So for me, I wasn't letting go of the balloon. Like
Yeah.
I was a Remax fanatic, and so I didn't end up making a move until like 2019, which I did eventually go to EXP. And I guess my background of engineering, like I couldn't get rid of the idea of I had to figure out like what my mistake cost me, right? So like,
Interesting.
So, okay, here's what I made in 14, here's what I made in 15, how
Yeah.
much stock would that have been? 16, 17, 18, 19, and then I realized it was like a $3.9 million stock mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
So, that
That's
sucked.
disappointing.
That's a little, so look, it gets worse, because
Yeah.
they went 2 for 1 at like, what, 147 a share or whatever?
Yeah.
Then it was like, I think it was like a $13.4 million mistake. So,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
yeah, it kind of still like hurts my feelings a little bit.
You didn't need that.
I
What would you do with that?
I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
So, it
There you
wouldn't
go.
It wouldn't even have been worth it.
We would have had a different guest. Is that what you're saying?
My wife's probably so excited.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh yes, go do a podcast. Screw that $13 million."
What would need that for? Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. Yeah.
You didn't make when Epic came along. You didn't wait, did you?
No.
Yeah. So what was that like? What was that transition?
So one of our guys, or one of Mike Blake's guys, Justin, disappeared in the middle of the night. Justin Graham, who was the Indiana state broker until last week. He kind of let that go, and now he's taking care of agents. But it was kind of like a Where's Waldo? Like where the hell did Justin go?
Yeah.
So we kind of took a peek at like where he went, and it was midsummer. It was golf season. I didn't really give it a whole lot of focus. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, he went to some epic thing, whatever. And I just threw it away. So my son and I were driving together. Mike calls me up one day, and he's like, "Hey, did you see where Justin went?" And I'm like, "Yeah, some epic, whatever."
Yeah, Epic Q. Yeah, everybody says that. Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, you might want to take a look at it." I'm like, "Did you look at it?" He goes, "No, but I saw a couple things where I'm going to." I'm like, "Okay." So my son, like I used to always tell all my kids, like if there's an opportunity, you look at it.
Yeah.
You don't say no to something you don't know about. To make a decision without information is ignorance. So make sure you get the information, study up, and then make your decision. Then you can make an intelligent decision versus an ignorant decision, right? So those words came flashing back to me when my son's sitting beside me. He's like, "Well, Dad, why didn't you look at it? I thought we look at everything." And I'm like, "We do. We will. We will."
Yeah.
As soon as we get back to the house, we'll look.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So get back to the house, look. I call Mike like 3 hours later. I'm like, "All right, I'm going to do an LOI." He's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to do a letter of intent. Like, let's freaking do this. I'm not going to have another sad story. I'm not missing out on $13 million. Like, that's not freaking happening again."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Well, hold on. Like, let me study through it. Let me get all my stuff settled." And so he did. We did LOIs, and then we opened. So in August of 2023, and then we opened it up October, I think 15th, 2023. So he was a state broker opening in, and I was the first agent coming in.
Wow.
Why? So let me ask you. So did you sponsor Mike then?
No.
Why does it kind of sound like that? And what happened there?
Well, Mike threw it up first, right? Threw it back at me.
Yeah, but he
to
was
look
still
at it.
thinking, and you were like, "I'm doing this." And as
Yeah.
soon as you said you squeezed yourself.
But I did.
As soon
I
as you
did.
said, "I'm doing this," Mike's like, "Well, hold on.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, you're signing up under
Well,
me."
Well, I couldn't do it without him.
Mike's-
That's Mike.
Well, yeah. That's definitely Mike. But, you know, the reality is we needed a state broker, right?
Yeah.
I kicked it to the curb. He's the one that threw it back into my face, like, "Hey, let's
Yeah.
consider it." So to me, I'm like, I'm just a person that has that genuine belief, like who, you know, they ask you the question when you sign up, who influenced you to be here?
Yes.
And it
yeah.
wasn't Justin that influenced me to be there. It
Right.
was Mike.
Right.
So if I believe if everybody answers that question genuinely, then everything's going to build out the way it's meant to be built out. Like
Yeah.
You're going to grow the way you're meant to grow, in which I freaking grew. Holy
Yeah.
shit! Like, well, I'm not supposed to swear. We swear.
I
We
mean,
swear not
It's
to
a podcast.
Yeah,
We can bleep it out.
All right.
Yeah, that's the worst. You know that's like the least worst thing you've said so far, right? your internal filter is a little off.
Then I already
You
went-
already got it all
I already
out.
Yeah.
All right, we're on a roll.
So I think Summer was actually the first person to swear on the podcast,
Yeah.
and it was during our Christmas special, wasn't it? We
I did.
During Christmas.
we had a guy on, and he literally every other word, and I used to work with him, and he was coming on for this episode, and I just said, "Hey, I just need you to, just because, especially since it's a Christmas episode, like just clean it up a little bit."
Be cool. And
Summer just 2
I
seconds
just-
and just drops the F-bomb.
I didn't do
so
that.
don't feel bad.
I didn't miss that yet.
I mean,
didn't miss that
I was
yet,
the
don't think.
least expected person to be the one to drop.
Yeah.
But,
It happens. It's
Yeah.
organic.
It
So
happens.
sometimes it happens.
So let me ask you a couple questions. Like I want to get inside of the person that is still sitting at those brokerages, and they're just kind of sitting there, right? Like what was it? Because you missed, because you could have done the same thing. KW was that came along, and then EXP really changed the model and brought that out, and it took you a while to move on from that. And so, like, what was it? Because you said that you were a balloon guy, like, and these people, like we know these people right now. They are still bleeding red, right? They're KW to the core.
Yeah.
They're like some of these other brokerages that have been around forever, like to the core. What eventually changed that for you? Like why did you have so much loyalty to them? I guess is my first question. And what made you finally break down enough to change that?
Okay, so it's funny because you say KW, and I missed that chance too.
Yeah.
So I walked through Lakeside, Keller Williams Lakeside, when it was going up, when it was a dirt floor, when the rough construction just went up, and I walked through it with one of the owners, and they're pitching, Doug, you could be here first.
Yeah.
But that
You
but
could
that-
have always been the first guy. Like you could have been the first, and it sounds like.
Yeah, so I screwed up a couple times.
Yeah.
But you know what? The KW one never bothered me.
Yeah, yeah.
Not for a second.
Right.
I just my buy-in personally wasn't there, and I didn't really see that the profit share was going to really be profitable.
Right. Right.
I mean, and in talking to people right now, I'm talking to a lot of KW people right now, and they're literally worth maybe $80 to $100 annually. So You have 10 people, you maybe get $1,000, a year. Right now with us, you have 10 people, you're probably getting 500 a month. So I mean, so $5,000 a year or whatever it is, $6,000 a year. So it's like a huge difference. So the KW one didn't bother me, but the XP one definitely did. So
Yeah.
I loved Remax because of the professionalism and our office. Our office that I was at was Remax Suburban. It no longer exists. But they were
Because you left.
well, I did
Oh, is that really
I did
it?
say to one of my buddies, like, it took me like 3 hours to break up with the broker, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
I've been there
yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
So I mean, I might have shed a tear. I might have been a little emotional about
Let's
it.
go through that day. Did you take them out? Like I got something I got to tell you. Did you take them out to dinner?
Did
Sorry.
you practice in the mirror?
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave Crosby, but here it goes.
Let's hear this. How did this go?
So it took, did I practice? No, I didn't practice, but I definitely had like bullet points in my head,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
with Dave. Dave is very, very business orientated, which is why I love him, because you can, you didn't get the news you wanted to hear from Dave, you got the news you're supposed to hear. Like,
Okay.
There was two partners, Dave Tuscany and Dave Quasney, and if it was going to be a hard conversation and you needed a hug, you went and saw Dave Tuscany. If you needed your, ass kicked,
Yeah.
your butt kicked, you talked to Dave Quasney, right? Like that's how it worked. So my original moving over there was with Dave Tuscany, and then my eventual, who I talked to most of the time ended up being Dave Quasney, which is, kind of a neat little as my business shifted, right? Because I started there, and then we went to, trying to be elite, right, or trying to be a big producer, which Dave was a big part of that. So there's no doubt, like I was bullet pointing, like this is the reason, there's this, there's this, and he basically, after to summarize, and we were both kind of bummed out that we were gonna go different directions, but he basically looked at me and was like, I don't see it. Like, I don't know why the heck you think this is going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to pay, $16,000 for air? You don't have an office. You've got nothing. Like, this isn't going to work. And I remember saying to him, like, I understand that you don't agree, but this is going to be impactful. Like, the whole office could change in a very quick, measure with this whole model. Like, and I didn't know I was just saying it because I believed it, but I didn't know how it was going to work out. But less than a year later, they were dissolved into Remax Eclipse and Remax First. Out of the top producers, the reason why I loved it so much there is it was an office full of snipers. Like 37 transactions was the average per agent there. Like everybody killed it. There was one year I think there was 60 agents and only 3 people didn't make $100,000. So everybody was producing in that office, and that was a great environment. But what ended up happening is I ended up, someone left before me. I think it was Ryan. Left before I did, and then I had left, and then the twins had left, and then all of a sudden a few other people had left, and a lot of their big producers, I think they lost probably almost 50% of their largest producers off their top 20 list, and that was an impact, right? And so then you had to figure out like what were they going to do, and I didn't realize they'd ever dissolve or partner with somebody else, but essentially they did. So I think the biggest reason for me is like one of the things that drove me crazy was we had no technology whatsoever with this number one company, right? They just didn't have great CRMs. They didn't have anything that really helped the agents. Again, if you oversimplify real estate, right? You're going to pay a broker rent at the tune of about 15 to 20 grand, and you get the right for the name and the logo. I mean, that's pretty much everybody. Even with the iCloud brokerages, there's an idea of having revenue share. So you might get some money back, but you're still not getting anything as far as support. And so the reason why we make the move to Epic is because you get, at the time it was 15 benefits, but they were all base benefits that we used all the time that I no longer had to pay for, which is amazing. And now we're up to 70 benefits, and I think soon, after PowerCon, I think we're going to be near 100. So it's like you're getting a lot for your money, and that's a huge difference. Plus, you have ownership, right? Like as soon as you joined, you had shares. As soon as you did your first deal, you had shares. As soon as you capped, you had shares. So now we're not renting like we're telling our clients not to do. We're actually owning, which is what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we believe in. And now because you own, you're gonna get revenue. Like if you own something and it's profitable, shouldn't you share in it?
Yeah.
I mean, Keller Williams sold all that money off to the private hedge fund. You could have cut your agents in, but you didn't. You ended up taking the money. You sold out. Like if I was a KW agent, I'd be ticked.
So
proud Epic agent here as well. just throw that in there.
So what took you? So okay. So I'm trying to hear the answer out of there. So basically, if I hear you correctly, what made you finally start to say, hey, I'm not going to bleed the balloon anymore? And it sounds like it kind of started with the people at the top started the culture started to move a little bit, And then from there, it was now that culture has started to be disheveled a little bit, I can start to see there's other opportunities out there.
Yeah, I think when I was doing the development job, I had to analyze everybody
Yeah.
because we had to be able to sell and why are we better than everyone else. And there was great reasons to make that argument, but I also saw that there was some things that were changing, things that were shifting. And then you're in with all the owners and they're having conversations about, what KW is doing and how come we're not doing this to combat them? Why aren't we doing more stuff with teams? And so you started hearing complaints. You started seeing the cracks, right?
Yeah.
And then if you see the cracks and you start focusing on them, they start becoming canyons. And so for me, I was looking at these cracks going, gosh, we're not doing anything to fix them. They're growing. It just started becoming, I started getting the feeling that I was at a dinosaur, that these were going to end up extinct or terribly impacted terribly, like one or the other.
Yeah.
And eventually I was like, okay, so where's the next piece?
Yeah.
So that eventually is the reason why we ended up switching to EXP, because you could. I've always, had agents that hey, do you like where you're at? Would you switch there? Yeah, I would. So I've always helped the brokerages grow, but you never really got anything for it.
Yep.
So I'm like, I've done it naturally. Why the heck not get something for it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
So that's your biggest thing is like you're like more, right? Like all your hard work, what's the next step then, right?
Well, the average millionaire says you have to have 5 streams of income,
Mm-hmm.
in order to kind of sustain that. So these other companies, you're getting stock, you're getting revenue, and you're getting your regular commissions, from doing your normal job.
yeah.
Lots
So-
of passive.
Yeah, so now you got 3 additional. Now you got 3 instead of 1. That's automatically a big boost.
What's your
Oh,
other
yeah.
two? Do you have 2 others right now?
I don't have the other 2 yet.
Are you looking for them?
Yes.
What would they be? Like if you could do anything to cover those other 2, what would they be?
I would love to do private jet rentals, but I feel like
Yeah?
that's kind of played out already.
Oh yeah, everybody does that. Lame. Like you don't do that too. What
Oh,
the
yeah, I know
crap?
plenty of people.
You know, everybody. Like, so many
Oh,
people
my
are in
God.
that. It's the first thing they say. Private jet rental. Yeah.
That's amazing.
He just starts. Yep.
Yeah, vault. Yeah,
Of course you do, yeah.
Several of them that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe we do an epic silo for private jets.
Well, there
I don't
you
know.
go.
There
I
you go.
think that
I gotta
would be
talk.
fun.
I gotta talk to Josh and Chris and Janice and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they don't have to travel around in an RV anymore. They can
Yeah.
travel in
Well,
their own
there you
jet.
go. I think you're
Skip
onto
the
something.
RV. See?
Yeah.
Now we're making moves.
Yeah,
Now
you
we're
just
making-
do it like Spirit style too, where like it's iffy but it's cheap, but it's still fun.
I don't mind Spirit.
I'm a Spirit fan.
I'm one of the only okay. I guess.
Oh, I love it. Oh, have I ever talked about Spirit on this show before?
I don't know.
I know we've talked
We've
about it.
talked. I actually am going on Frontier for the first
Yeah,
time.
yeah, good luck.
In a few
Yeah.
weeks.
I think Frontier's okay.
I am so nervous.
Don't be
Yeah.
nervous. Listen, the first time I was talking to somebody about this the other day, Spirit. 100%. If you want, they probably can't sponsor the podcast, to be honest, but they're probably not making enough money. But I'll never forget.
They have the newest fleet of aircraft out there. They gotta be doing okay.
Yeah, but here's what I love about Spirit for real. Like the first time I was ever on it, right? I used to fly Delta, and no offense to Delta people, okay? But no, forget it. Well, see. Well, me, I'll tell you right now.
All right, here we
Delta
go.
Delta people always seemed really snooty to me. Like there's this right? We have our Delta Sky Miles. He's too fat to sit next to. Maybe it's just me. It's the only airline I ever had an issue on was always Delta, right? So the first time I ever flew Spirit, it was the coolest experience because, in Delta, they're too good to even we're not going to have our regular people show you how to buckle your seat. No, we're going to film it and you're going to watch it while they sit there and watch you watching it, right? Like, come on, right? Like, let's do some onboard entertainment.
Well, that is why some of us are doing YouTube channels. We have to do it over and over and over again. Just saying.
Yeah, but see, that's because where creativity comes in. First Spirit flight, no joke. First Spirit flight, the steward person, I don't know what they're. The stewardess comes out now, except for she was a he, so stewarder.
Steward man.
Steward.
You can't say man. So
I don't know.
steward.
Right. I don't know. Whatever
I
the
don't know.
appropriate thing is.
Who knows?
The flight attendant comes out, right? Starts beatboxing over the mic, and the other one picks up and rapped the instructions. My first ever Spirit flight, and I'm like, you look concerned. I was like, this is totally my type of
I was
deal.
like, well, We're
right?
going down.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. They start beatboxing and
It's going
rapping.
down.
Yeah. Oh, it was
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
Then the 18-year-old pilot came out, did shots with everybody. I was like, this is an air flight, right? It was. No, I've always been a huge fan of them because they are, I think that they're economically sound. I have always had. I've never had a bad. It's funny because, you know what? Are you an Apple guy or are you an Android guy?
Apple guy.
Okay, so here's the thing about Apple people. Let me go Delta and Apple.
Delta and Apple people.
I
That's
can't-
Who we are.
I just got lumped. We just got
Yeah,
lumped in with
yeah,
it.
you're all
Yeah.
lumped in there. All right, listen, lumpies. Here's the thing. You know how many I've been dealing with real
I
estate
feel like
agents.
you've been waiting to let this. I feel like you've been
I
waiting
know.
to let
It's
this
my time.
conversation
I'm
go.
like that old
We got each
person.
other right now.
I'm like that old person that's waiting for the telemarketer just so I can go off on him and be like, well, how'd you get my number? I'm trying to read the newspaper. But no, I've been working with real estate agents for 15 years now. Man, it's getting time, right? The amount of agents that have said, well, I use Apple because it's easy and it just works. And then they go, how does this happen? And I don't know. And I need to go to the Apple store because I can't just transfer my stuff over. All right? Yeah, it's so Apple has to have a store that you have to sign into just for help. They have to have a spot for you to go to. Meanwhile, my stuff always works. Now,
My
viruses,
stuff
but
always works.
yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know. I can't vet
If
that.
you
I'm just
catch a
taking your
cold-
word.
If you catch a cold, your Android has a problem.
What?
Like-
Not mine doesn't. My Android tells me if I'm about to catch a cold. There's a difference
Yeah.
because
Gates and
my
viruses, that's the difference.
yeah. That's it. My
You're
shot
welcome.
came through my ear. That's how. I didn't catch COVID because I had 5G. All right. Science. Follow the science. Why are we talking about this, Summer? Why did you bring this up? I'm lost.
Okay.
Android,
Talk
Apple,
about Delta,
Spirit.
Delta.
Yeah,
Delta?
Talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
And your most favorite thing about
Spirit.
Spirit.
Yeah, we did that.
Can I say though?
Yeah, go
Johnny
ahead.
showed me one thing about Spirit. He's like, "This is why we should fly Spirit." And the first class tickets are,
Like $60 more.
they're not.
Well,
I mean,
sometimes.
I was like, maybe I'll go with you. Like,
Spirit.
I'll sit in first class with you. I'm not against it.
Spirit Airlines has, if you look,
Big front seats.
well, the big front seats are actually
They don't recline.
they're larger. Well, they recline-ish,
Ish.
but they're larger. They're larger width-wise. Now, this doesn't matter to you guys. I don't even know why we're discussing this, but for anybody else out there that's widthly a challenge, they're larger. The front seats are larger than any other first-class front seat. There's an extra an inch and a half on Delta's first-class
That's a
seat.
lot.
It is a lot.
This is fun.
Yeah, this is a good time. So anyway, the point is, Apple phones are what caused COVID. I think that's what we get out of that. So,
Yeah.
so,
We're going.
so let me ask you this: so you go from EXP. You say, I missed this wave. Epic's coming. You looked at that. You called Mike. You said you need to get ahead of me so that I can sign up under you.
Mike called me.
Yeah, and now you're the number one. I just noticed that watch is dope, by the way. Like, which one of those do you turn to?
It
Do
doesn't
you guys
matter.
see this
I
watch?
I realized this morning that the battery died because I haven't really had it in a while.
It's just
So I come walking, like literally while I was texting you, I look at my watch and I'm like, oh, I'm on time. No, I'm not on time.
No.
No,
Shit,
the
this-
time
I'm like,
it's realtor
is
time,
off.
right?
Like, this isn't even on time.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So yeah, I have a couple watches. Well, so I guess I don't pay attention enough.
No,
to,
that one is cool.
make
I
sure all
like
the
the
batteries are
style. It
working.
looks like little bullets.
It looks like everything
racing.
should be tuning the watch, is what it looks
Yeah,
like.
Oakley did watches for a little while. Like they did like a Swiss watch or whatever. That's what this one is.
That's an Oakley Swiss watch.
Yeah, I loved it. I just fell in love with it, and that was what I had to have.
Swish watch.
Swiss watch. You remember in Oakley did the crazy glasses that were little tiny beads and then they went up over the
Yeah,
back of your head?
Yeah, those are. Thank God those went away.
Yeah, Oakley's and Remax. Anyway, when you said we, so you kept saying we, so we moved to here, then we moved to here. Who is the we? Did you have a team built at Remax that you had to convince to move at the time, or how did all that work? Who's the we?
No, I think I just speak like because I love myself so much.
Okay.
There's like one or two of us.
Me, myself, and I.
No, like my son was at EXP with me, and then
Okay.
then I switched to Epic, so he switched to Epic. I mean, I say we, but the reality is he's full-time Air Force. He just got back from South Korea, just did a year over there, so
Yeah.
like now he's just got put in Las Vegas. So I don't know if he's going to get his Nevada license or not, but so when I say we, him and I moved over to Epic.
Got
Okay,
it. Got
So
it.
he did. Okay.
And it was kind of the same thing. Like he called you and said you should check out Epic, and then you said no, I'm going to sign up first because Mike taught me how to do that, and then you signed him up under you. Is that how that worked?
Does that work?
Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay, good.
Once
So
again, who influenced you?
yeah. No, I got you. I hear that. Yeah. So how has that transition? You've gone and now you get to say that you were the number one agent in Michigan too. Like you get to be legit number one, right? You're the number one. You don't have to.
Mike always wants to argue this.
Let's argue it.
Because Mike wants.
He's
to be,
not here.
Mike wants to be number. Oh yeah, that's true. I love
Yeah.
it. So Mike, you're wrong.
He is.
There it is.
Yeah,
You just said
yeah.
it's wrong.
So
He
so
can't be the number one agent if he was a broker, right?
That's what I say. But
Agreed.
he's like, you have to be an agent first. So
No, you either have a real estate license or a broker's license,
right,
correct?
He just wants to be one.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, you can be the first broker. I'll be the first agent.
Okay, there you go.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I would say that's fair.
I think it's fair.
I would want that number one.
Yeah, yeah.
I like
Too.
being the first agent.
Who is number two?
Jill.
Oh no, that
Jill.
Jill
That
Love,
makes
the
sense.
Wonderful, and angelic Jill Love.
Yeah.
Yes, she deserves two.
Yeah, she does.
She deserves one. No,
She still can't figure out how the hell I leapfrogged her and got.
I was gonna
Yeah.
I weaseled into the middle, but
Yeah.
but I did.
That's funny. Good. So now you're here, right? The question then becomes, if something else comes around and that also has an opportunity, like do you feel that you're going to be stuck with the Epic? Are you going to do the same thing that you did with Remax? Or are you going to continue to look for opportunities if they present themselves?
I think you always look. I just think you always look. There could always potentially be a great opportunity. Now the reality is, from doing this my whole life and analyzing all these brokerages, I don't know how you're going to beat it. And I always think to myself, I think Remax had dominance for about 20 years. I think KW had it for about 10. I think EXP's had it for about 7 or 8.
Yep.
And the reality is, I think we're going to displace them. I don't know how fast we do it, but I truly do think we will. So how long do we hold it, right? Do we hold it for 5? Do we hold it for 15? Is it somewhere in between? I don't know. But typically, you're not going to hold it forever.
Yeah.
But when you look at the idea of the things that are being offered, we're the only ones doing that.
Yeah.
And then when you look at what the cap is, and the fact the cap goes down and not up,
Yeah.
like, so now you're going to be 5 years in, you're going to be at $10,000 and have 80, 90, 100, 110 benefits at that time. Like, who knows how many?
Yeah.
Like, how is another company going to come in and displace or knock us off the mountaintop? Like, I think it's going to be a hard battle for them to do, a hard battle for that to happen.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how Zillow does that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
or Rocket, right? They bought Redfin. I mean, there's
it's crazy, isn't it?
That's a play. That's a play.
Do you know the connection between Zillow and Redfin? Did you know that they're connected?
I don't think I did.
Yeah, so the two college roommates. This is an interesting backstory. These two college roommates are together. They together figured out how to do a pin on a map to show where a house is for sale. All right. They created the software together to be able to do it. Before anybody else, you just have static text, right, on the internet. One of them said, we need to become a brokerage and then just use this exclusively within our brokerage. The other said, no, we need to open this up to everybody and sell this to everybody. One of them moved to California, Zillow. The other one, Texas, Redfin.
Wow.
And that's the thing. And it's been Redfin's had an interesting journey, because most people, I mean, they've been around forever.
Yeah, they've been around for a while.
So, who bought Redfin?
Um,
Did you say?
Dan Gilbert, Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket just bought him, right?
Wow.
Yeah, we're
which
living.
was a ton of money for not a lot of action.
What?
I
But
was
see, what are they going to
say,
turn it
what-
into?
What's Redfin? I mean, I know what Redfin is, but like Zillow is just.
Here's. Let me get your input on this, because you've been a while. How long have you been licensed for? Because you were 20 years at Remax. You
Yeah,
said.
28. I mean, I think I'm in my 28th year.
Okay, so
90
we'll just.
27th year.
Okay.
98.
So almost 30 years in the industry. You had an
Let's
aunt.
not say it like that.
Okay, no, you're good. Yeah. So. 3 decades in the industry sounds much better. You're right.
Lots of time.
Lots
for
of yeah.
experience gained.
And our aunt, right? She's kind of like She spearheaded the whole thing. She started the real estate industry, so you've so you've had your hands in it for a while. Let me ask you about this. Did you hear about the? And I believe I wish you had your laptop. You could fact check me. I think it's Portugal. No, it's not. I know it wasn't Poland. I think it's Portugal had the first AI brokerage that opened up, and it's all AI, and they've done 100 million in transactions so far. Have you heard about this?
I had not.
Yeah. So are you looking it up right
Yeah,
now?
why not?
Look this up and fact check me on this. Thank you. Yeah, Gary Vee was talking about the other day about where real estate's going and how AI is going to be affecting real estate. Because I'm thinking, my guess is, and I've been saying this forever. One of the things that we're noticing right now, and you've probably seen this, is back when Remax was around again, the real estate ones, even the
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead,
this
yeah.
article here, it says the world's
Newsflash.
first AI real estate agent has already made 100 million sales. It's a Portuguese brokerage.
Portuguese.
It's using an AI interactive real estate agent capable of doing home tours and answering questions. I'm sorry, but I don't think that'll one day like replace real agent.
Just did.
You think?
You just read the article. It just did.
Well, I mean, I would say like they're giving it a go, but I don't think
It's done 100 million.
I mean, 100 million, okay, but like compared to everybody else in the world,
Yeah.
like it might have its great time now, like how he was saying. But
Yeah.
I don't think this will be something that maybe.
Yeah.
I think as soon as that doesn't realize that there's more value on the north side of Maple, west of Birmingham, than there is on the south side of Maple,
Yeah.
west of Birmingham.
Yeah.
Like unless they're going to get into a very minute, unless they can dig up enough data to be, and I'm sure, I mean, it should be able to dig up data, but
Yeah.
I think there's some things that are unable to be factored. Right?
Yeah.
So
Knowing and trusting and
23 Mile Road in Shelby, right?
Yeah.
Another little, spot where one's worth more money on one side than the other side. Like
Yeah.
there's little intricacies that I think it's very hard for data to be able to figure that stuff.
I don't know.
out.
Data also
And
doesn't
how
have
can-
any bias though.
That is,
yeah,
It
that's
only has
true.
logic.
But sorry.
Yeah.
It doesn't have.
I figure coming from Apple people that you guys would be on the side of it.
No, I would say it doesn't have like human characteristics are so big. I think it's a huge part of our job being real estate salespeople.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm just telling you, it's here.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It is
like
true,
right now.
But like in another factor, how is that going to know whether windows are bad? How's that going to know whether the roof needs to get replaced? How's
Well,
it gonna
here's
know?
where the Redfin thing is interesting. So this ties back to Redfin. This actually ties into the question I was going to ask. Right now,
You brought that full circle.
yeah, I just wait. I'm coming all the way back to your birth time. Right now, we are living in a time where things seem to be like everybody's buying everything. EXP is buying the IDX feed. Redfin just got purchased by this, right? Fox News bought Realtor.com, and then somebody else just bought it out of them, right? So like all these people are it seems like everybody's right in this crazy scramble to buy whatever they can buy right now. You know what I mean? So we're living in this really unique time. It feels like, and it just one after another. Like every month, somebody's making a move to buy the next thing. Yep, and we're kind of getting all gobbled up by these bigger companies. The reason I brought that up was because I was talking about Zillow and when the next opportunity. The one thing that I think that might end up happening again, when a real estate like they've already figured the AI thing out, right? Like when we're talking about Portugal,
Right.
when a brokerage can figure out that, or Zillow, from what I'm hearing, they're starting to want to just use flex agents only. If Zillow turned into a brokerage and said, you're not getting leads anymore from us unless you're one of our agents, that's some of these things could really hugely disrupt. In your experience, I guess my question is, do you see how crazy things are getting? And do you think that it's just going to eventually implode, or do you think like where do you see things going?
Consolidated.
I mean, in my opinion, I think people are always going to want to have their hand held.
Yeah.
Like I think there's too many factors that can come into the variables of purchasing houses, right? The conditions, the potential, the ideas, what can something be, and if you don't have an AI bot walking through the house, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe eventually we can be replaced by robots that can walk through and put eyes on it and then
Yeah.
give you spit out a bunch of options. I mean, I guess that's a possibility, but until that happens, I think we're pretty solid. I think we're good. But I do think there's going to be consolidation. Almost all the industries have moved into less big pieces, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of pulling everything together, auto industries and everything else. So it wouldn't be surprising that we do it. I think the other big thing is big companies, corporations, they want access to $1.5 billion in commissions, right? There's a lot of money earned by 1.3 or 1.6 million agents, depending on how many there are right now. I think the greatest thing is we have an industry full of independents that everybody can go out and run their own business and have their own opportunities and create their own promised land, right? Versus a corporation telling you, hey, you got to be here from this time to this time. We'll pay you $50,000, and then we'll pay you a $2,000 bonus for everything that you close, and they monetize everything. And I think when they do that, you lose some of that personality as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why we're one of the longest standing independent, businesses that are out there at this scale. Usually it's something that's at this scale has already been consumed.
Yeah, yeah.
Consolidated.
Definitely.
Yeah. Are you worried especially with like all the NAR stuff that's constantly going out and like the government constantly wanting to get involved with that eventually they will get involved with it and try to start regulating our industry?
Well, I mean, I think our industry is pretty regulated already.
Not by the government though.
Well, I mean, you have a law for everything.
Yeah,
If you have a law for everything, you're somewhat regulated by the government, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes. I mean, there can be differences. I mean, you had a settlement 4 years ago. They got ripped back out of being settled after it was signed, and now they're relitigating it, right?
Yeah.
Now you've come with another agreement, which I don't think is technically finalized, right? That's being disputed as well. So
Yep.
I think that's going to be ongoing over and over and over and over again. I mean, just my personal opinion. So for me, I just do business the way you always did business.
Yeah.
Even with what they decided upon, it really didn't change it any. The problem was you have uneducated agents that say stuff that isn't accurate, and they make comments like, "Oh, that's what everybody does," or "That's what everybody charges," or "That's what."
Yeah.
And that's not true at all. I mean, you've always been able to have a variance of commission based on your list side and your buy side. You've always been able to negotiate both sides.
20 years ago, everybody was doing the sliding scale. Do you remember that? Was that did you guys get that at Remax? Like we had it? No.
No, I don't remember.
You could go from 4 to 8%, and you had a whole sliding scale, and a bunch of agents were trying to do that.
Options,
Yeah.
But I mean, if you go back 30 years ago or 40 years ago, right? Everybody was represented by the seller.
Yep.
Even though I'm helping my buyer find a house, little did they realize that I'm actually, a seller's agent. So that's why they came up with buyer agency, right? And now you're almost trying to push things back in the direction that they came from, which is ludicrous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
The reality is the same thing it's always been. The buyer, there's you have an opportunity to make that commission one way or the other, from the buyer, from the seller. It didn't change any. Most of the times, in my opinion, everybody's still pretty much doing the same exact thing. You're just disclosing it better, which I think is great. We should have been disclosing it the whole time. I've always disclosed it. I'm like, listen, you can be from 1 to 6 to this to that. But
That was one of the
I'm here.
first things I learned, and then because I joined at interesting time. So this is my 3rd year in real estate, and I joined right before right after COVID, and then there was the whole NAR situation.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of craziness in real estate.
It's getting crazier. I think crazy is speeding up right now for our industry.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, with all those things, I learned so much in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's good. Bright side.
Well,
So
I mean, for you, I mean, you deal with a lot of people anyway. For everything that you do, all jobs
All
on
around,
hand.
yeah, all around, yes.
I think I don't know why this circled back to this. I think that
I'm
AI.
starting to get nervous when it's
I
in a
know,
circle.
me
Like,
too.
I start like, oh,
I
geez,
sweat a little bit. I'm like, oh no.
I
Here we
think
go.
that AI
what's coming out now?
is going to get to the point because humans created it. Don't forget, right? I think AI will get to the point where they're like, I don't want to do all this. I'm going to bring in a buyer's agent. I think that's going to be the next company.
No.
You know what? I'm going to bring a buyer's agent in, and then I'm going to, because if it's smart, if it's logical, this is one of the things that Zillow did that was great, and we've been coaching people to do this forever. Is just manage your database, take care of people, and then keep in contact with them forever. Right? That's all Zillow ever did. And any AI that comes out that does, I mean, we already have AI that's doing that for us. If you go with some of the AI options, some of the CRMs out there that have it built
I
in.
feel like most agents, I hope most agents are using AI already. Otherwise, you're behind.
There's a lot of them that aren't. It's
you're
crazy.
already way
There's
behind.
a
And
lot.
there's some that don't want to.
No,
I'm not using that stuff. It's not replacing me. And I'm like, oh.
Okay,
I've
well,
met
it
agents.
is.
I've met agents that still they didn't even want to use a CRM.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even use. They would actually ask other agents to put their listings on the CRM or upload their listings to the MLS because they didn't want to use MLS either.
Well,
Yeah,
I
that's
keep hearing too that like that group of people who aren't using AI or using it to
Yeah.
help their business at all, they're gonna become a new statistic that's getting left behind in the real estate world, and then they're gonna end up leaving because
They're gonna
doing it
go.
anymore.
They're gonna look back one day and go, "I missed out on $13.8 million dollars."
Call that Doug Seeley moment.
The Doug
Yeah.
Seeley effect.
Great.
Let's make this a thing.
That's a thing. Hashtag the Doug Seeley
not
effect.
making it.
It's motivational though.
It's motivational. It's okay. You're motivating people. It's good.
But you know what? You even motivated yourself because
That's true.
You made that. You thought it was a huge mistake.
Summer's the best, isn't she? She's trying to tie that nice little pretty bow on there. Yeah.
And look at you though, #1 agent.
The number one, the first agent ever. Yeah.
I've always told my kids, like, did you see me do that? Like, yeah, that's an exact example of
No,
what
Yeah.
not to
What
do.
not to do. Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Nope.
I've given you a perfect roadmap of what not to do.
Right.
So let me ask. So again, we don't want to mention that it's nearly been 30 years that you've been in the industry. So however you want to say that, you probably have experienced a lot of different things. So as an agent, if an agent came to you and they had a particular question, you'd probably be able to give some decent, good advice for that. Correct?
I would like to think so.
Great, because it's time to play a game, everybody. You guys know the words, right? Let's play a game with Doug. There we go. Let's play a game. Yes, there it is. Yeah, it's the Let's Play a Game show. All right, here, this game is called Let's See What He Would Say. I've got a couple questions here. I got a couple questions. So as a new agent, I'm coming to you as an experienced agent. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, knowing that you are not a broker, right? So check with your own broker, blah, 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 blah. And you're not an attorney. So
Yes.
no legal advice here. I just want to see what you would say. So yeah, so I'm calling you to ask for some of your advice. So here's the first one. Hey Doug, I need some help. My seller accidentally added their cat to the title during a Zoom call with their mobile notary. Now the cat technically owns 12% of the property and refuses to leave the sunroom. Can I legally evict a feline co-owner, or do I have to buy her out?
Are you serious?
That's crazy.
That's the.
Has that actually happened?
I have no clue.
I
These
feel
are
like
just
maybe
questions.
that's-
Why
there's
not?
some
We're gonna just say
people out
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally
In
think
Portugal.
that's probably possible.
You think that's possible that could? Of course, it could happen.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You-
But you'd have to have a person in trust, right? Like if you're gonna, because the cat has no signing powers, so there's gonna have to be somebody that's gonna have to have some signing.
Okay,
powers
so let me
for
throw a
that.
wrench in there. They identify as a cat.
I have no use for them.
So someone just goes, "Oh."
At this point, it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
We need the pad of that rin right now. We need to put them
Yeah.
in it.
Have you seen the video of the lady that runs she has a house apartment thing, and she makes people use a litter box? She put a giant litter box up in her room.
Yeah.
What if the
Have you seen
cat-
this?
No.
I wouldn't be there.
No. What if the cat just magically like disappeared though?
Wow.
That's a great question.
Summer's murdering cats. Now.
Let's ask that
Are we
question.
gonna get the deal closed? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what happens
You're
in
giving
that
your mom a
case?
hard time today, and you're killing cats.
My
Not
mom
a-
loves cats too.
Not a. Oh my gosh. It's a great list.
It's pretty bad.
Hey Doug, let me ask you a question.
Another question.
Yeah, hey, I've got a buyer that signed a contract while inside a bounce house. Yeah.
Are these AI questions?
Yes. This is how they're taking. I'm giving them the algorithm right now. This is how they're going to do 100 million. They're going to do all these.
I'm sure you guys, this was not prearranged.
No,
The first time hearing these questions.
They know. Is if somebody signs a contract well inside a bounce house, is that legally binding? Especially if negotiations were happening and it was Timmy's 8th birthday party.
Okay, so Timmy's 8th birthday party.
It was
is
his 8th,
irrelevant,
yeah.
And the bounce house is irrelevant.
Okay.
You sign the docs, you're in.
Yeah. Okay, but here's what you need to know. Timmy identifies as a cat.
But Timmy's 8-year-old, he didn't do the signing.
Yeah, but he also identifies as an 8-year-old.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
No, what would happen though? What would happen if somebody were to say this actually it's funny because I these are questions that have actual legal, like I looked up legal things and said, all right, how can we make this a ridiculous question? But
How can we make
this
it
is
look-
this whole thing is based off of a duress question. Like if somebody was at a heightened state of euphoria or was their kid's birthday and you're kind of interrupting it and you crashed it and they're just trying to sign it because they're distracted and, little Timmy's getting bit by the donkey in the corner or something crazy like that. Like, could there be a case?
Listen, as the late great Marge Fraser, who used to be the best real estate educator ever, it's like $20 an attitude, and anybody can have a lawsuit, right? Like anybody can have an issue for $20 an attitude. Like so yes, I'm sure all that stuff can happen. But if you're over 18, I don't care if you're in a bounce house, as long as you haven't been drinking.
Just wait, we're getting to that.
And drinks are coming.
Yeah. Here, this one is actually inspired by this one right here is inspired by Jason Courtney. Hey Doug, I'm offering free IV drips and neurofeedback scans at my open house to optimize buyer decision making. My lender partner says it's innovative, but I may be violating RESPA. Who's right? And if it's a gray area, can it still be optional?
Violating RESPA by doing IV drips? I'm thinking IV drips are going to be okay.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're not sending you off into La La Land, right? And then it's
I guess.
Let's say it's a vitamin drip. Let's say it's one of those, or a hangover IV. One of those types of things. I think we're probably.
Definitely.
I think we're solid.
I've seen open houses where people get Botox.
Really?
They offer it, yeah.
What?
I mean,
is
there's
that
not many like in Michigan?
yeah.
What happened much around?
Are we selling sunsets or things in Manhattan or whatever the shows are?
Do you have to do a 3-hour lunch first and then you get a free air flight somewhere when you show up?
A little massage.
What open house? Where did you see these open houses?
Where are we traveling to?
Well, we gotta travel, but California.
Botox for an open house. Now, it's funny because now I don't know Epic's stand on it. Again, I know that the last brokerage that I was at, they were like, you can't do the gift basket drawing thing at open houses because that was really big like 10 years ago. Everybody was doing those. And I believe MARA, the Michigan Real Estate Association of Agents, came out and said, it's considered gambling at that point in time because it could be related to, do you do those?
I don't do those.
You're like gambling.
Yeah,
I could see it as there's probably a value limit, right? If it's a raffle of $25 or less, I bet you it's going to be okay. But over $25, isn't that the number that typically is?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
think that's just for a write-off, though.
I don't think there's a number.
I think this is a great question for the state broker.
Yeah. He's not here, and he would have been the number. So we thought we'd go to the number one agent instead. Hey, Doug.
Oh gosh.
So I took a client out for drinks, and may have had one too many. They signed the listing agreement. They were totally enthusiastic about it, by the way. But now they're saying that they don't remember anything. Also, I may have had a few too many drinks. Also, we may have hit an endangered species with the car on the way home, and we may be using this listing as blackmail to get them into silence, and that endangered bird might have actually been a human, and now that you've been told you're technically part of the crime, do you cover this up, or do you need to be put on a retainer?
I think we need to give them some legal advice. Maybe a couple.
We started with you're not
lawyer recommendations. Yeah. And I did mention at the beginning, under the influence is not going to be legally binding.
Yeah. Yep, that's it's an interesting thing that you have when we talk about people being under the influence and signing stuff. Because let me ask you, this just brings up an off topic. What would you ever do if you were working with a client or a buyer's agent, you're on the listing side, and the buyer really didn't want the house, and then they're just like, oh, I was drinking when I signed it. Like, how would you ever prove?
My God, that would just be
how would you ever prove that wasn't a real thing? That they weren't just using that to get out of the sale?
I mean, so in my 20 plus years.
Yeah, almost 30, yeah.
I tried to get over it. I have had clients walk in that I could tell were coming from a bar.
Yeah.
Like they, we had, it goes back to the olden days where you like go back and type something out.
Yeah.
And so then they come in and I literally told them, like, guys, listen, like, I know you're gonna go waste an hour, but don't go waste an hour drinking, because if you're drinking, like, we literally legally can't sign this stuff.
Yeah.
I think, because I'm pretty sarcastic and I do like to cocktail, I don't think they thought I was serious. So when they came in, I could tell, and I was like, guys, we just can't do it. And they're like, of course we can. Like, you're the only one that's going to know. And I'm like, but we can't.
But you know, and that's the problem.
Because I know if something happens in the future, they're going to be like, hey, we were drinking. And like it's an automatic out. And then I screw over the seller, I screw over everybody. Like,
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
Well, you
I
did the
can't do
right
that.
thing.
Thanks.
But on the same time, wouldn't that be an automatic out for anybody?
I think it is.
Because nobody
I'm
could.
just kind of thinking though. I feel like sometimes people like to sit down, especially like maybe like friends, and especially you're gonna do business together. You might have like some bourbon.
Yeah, but you don't. I
feel
don't
like
think you
that's
sign.
something-
You don't sign a document usually at that point in time, though.
No, I
you
feel
know?
like you usually drink after you sign as
Yeah.
like a celebration.
Yeah.
Yes, done that
Yeah.
once or 100 times.
That's the way to do it.
It's like I'm doing it right now. This is. Have we signed anything?
As soon as we're done. What time is it?
Right. I got
Well,
the paperwork.
it's funny that you bring that up because, well, summer, it is that time.
Oh my goodness. All right. It's time to hit the light, pull the sign, lock the door. We're ending Open House, the podcast.
Doug, thank you for bringing your over 30 years of experience with us here. The first ever agent in Michigan for Epic, not Mike, it was Doug Seeley. He was right here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Amazing episode. We appreciate it.
Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Peace. Woo, that went fast. We're actually over. That went fast and furious. Awesome. Thank you, brother.
That was the way.
You thought that was going to be hard?
I didn't even get hard. I just
Oh, it's all fun. Yeah. Yeah, the fun part is we'll turn this into about 30 bits throughout the year. We'll post them, and every time we'll copy you on them. And the other thing, I don't know if you know this, but I'm backlogging all these too. So second in June, we have a blog section on our website. So these all the success prints will get cut out, so we can also have stuff and post it on some of the more serious platforms. And so you'll actually have an article that you created from this podcast on success prints. It's pretty cool.